grown-ass man.
They did what they were supposed to do versus Carolina. They did what they were supposed to do versus Jacksonville. And they did what they were supposed to do versus the Rams. You have to beat the bad teams that are in front of you. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you can't take what they did too seriously. The meat of their schedule is coming up. Well, that's great. But if the meat of their schedule was coming up and they were 2-4, we would be killing them. So how about them Bears?
Let's go to the Bears.
Let's
run in the show now. I can't say anything anymore because we actually have sponsors. So
I mean, you can say whatever you want. One of our sponsors actually which is a clothing line, is geared towards mental health. So it's kind of perfect for some of the things you talk about. And rookie move. Always the rookie. Welcome to Windy City Sports Talk. Combs and Fitz. It's your boy Brandon Combs along with my guy Ryan Fitzgibbons. We are live from beautiful Flagship on the Fox here in St. Charles, Illinois. Man, oh man, why can't I find the damn overlay to take the overlay off so people can actually see it? There we go. You should be able to hear yourself. It might be. Hold on.
We'll try not to keep it dead air going.
Technical difficulties here.
We'll talk as we go.
Yeah, maybe we just don't want you to talk, so that's what it was. We're trying to get it so that you don't speak too much. That's how we do. But look, it's going to be a great show. We're going to talk Bears, Vikings. We are going to talk about We're going to talk about the debacle that was. We're going to talk about the debacle that was with the Green Bay Packers. We're going to talk about coaching staff. Should Ryan Poles get fired as well? I mean, it's definitely something that needs to be talked about, and we're going to hit up on it here. Go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah, the Bears have to run the table right now. To get to the 11th total that I have them at it. So I don't know if anybody wants to keep listening to our show anymore to hear what I have to say about the team, because, like I said, they have to run the table.
I muted you on purpose, you know that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's probably better for the show. Like I said, they have to run the table to get to the 11-win total I had them at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't think there was going to be a Hail Mary or a blocked field goal where you inexplicably don't go for it with 32 seconds to go, or at least try to get closer and try to kick a 46-yard field goal in one of the hardest places to kick.
In typical Fitz fashion, I had to sit at the bar last week because you leave at halftime every week because you're not as committed as I am to the bit. Week. So you leave a little bit earlier. And I'm sitting at the bar and the Bears complete the pass and they get into field goal range with about 37 seconds to go. And I'm like, all right, cool. We got time to run another play, got time to spike the ball. You got time to do all sorts of different things. And they don't. And they just stop. And they go from the left side. And everybody knows. And there was even a couple guys in the bar who said, why don't they try to get the ball to the right side where Cairo Santos is more comfortable from? And they didn't do that. They didn't do what they were going to do. And Matt Eberflus says later in the week that it's because they didn't talk about it, which is even more mind-boggling.
I think that's something you talk about. I think that's something you talk about before the season starts. Like, where do you like to kick?
Yeah.
Do you want us to move over? You see it done in like every game. Do you want us to move over to the right hash? I don't know. Maybe it gets blocked anyway, but it's all those little things that you put together to win games, and the Bears didn't want to do that. Obviously, they don't want to win games. They're not playing to win games for some reason. And the third year of the Ryan Poles and Eberflus era, they're really not. I don't get it. I don't get what is going on. They don't have an edge.
Yeah.
Like, they just do not have an edge. I mean, I have a clip. I won't even play it, by Dan Campbell after the championship game, when Dan Campbell goes for a field goal up 24-10 in the championship game last year against San Francisco. Instead of going for a field goal, he goes for it.
Yeah.
He could have gone up 3 scores. Instead, he goes for it. They don't get it. They end up losing by 3 points in the end, and everybody blames Dan Campbell, but at least he has an edge, and he believes in his team. And after the game, he said, I believe in my team. At least he has an edge. I mean, where the Bears never had a guy like that. They don't have the Bill Belichick's, you can even go back to Bill Walsh. They don't even have the Buddy Ryans with the 46 defense. He's the last coach they had that did anything close to innovating in this league.
No, I'm with you, man. We're gonna touch on all of that stuff because I've got a lot of stuff to say about all this stuff.
And then we got the Vikings.
But before we get in there, we are at beautiful Flagship on the Fox in St. Charles, Illinois. It's a beautiful venue here, by the way. We walked in, we were like, it's beautiful here compared to what we're used to on the south side of Chicago. I mean, it's a little bit different. I think the little room that we're in is about the size of the entire bar on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah,
we normally
go 2-0 against McNally's, but
no. It's our fault they're closing. I mean, we started doing our podcast there, and all of a sudden they're closing.
They're like, that's enough.
It's just how it goes. But we've got a lot of exciting things going on here with Combs and Fitz Windy City Sports Talk for all those that are, listening for the first time. For those that are here at Flagship on the Fox, we are a show that is derived off of being fans. Like, that's what we are. So if you're looking for somebody to tell you that your team's going to be good, and somebody to tell you that your team has hopes, and somebody to tell you that all the right things and all of the good things you want to hear about your team, go listen to ESPN. Don't listen to us, because we're going to be honest with you. We're going to tell you that Ryan Poles is a coward. We're going to tell you that the Bears coaching staff is full of cowards. That's the type of show that we run. And being with that and
we wish
being able
to
talk like that.
We wish it was different.
We do. We started the Chicago Sports Podcast about 2 years ago, and we haven't had one team in the playoffs yet.
No.
And we've closed down a bar. So I think it's us. I think we ruined everything in Chicago.
The last Chicago team to make the playoffs was the worst team in MLB history this past year. So just to give you an idea of what we're working with.
That is the thing. But we have
Rashad Sutton says facts.
What's going on, Shad? So from what I heard from Evan is that Shad from the afternoon show, right? When I hear Shane bring him on the show all the time. Okay. So he's a caller at the Score. I hear his name all the time. So what's going on, Shad? Thank you for chiming in. Thank you for joining the show. It's one of those things where we like to talk the truth, and we like to tell you the truth. We're not going to sugarcoat anything for you. We love the Bears too. I love the Cubs. He loves the White Sox. I don't hate the White Sox. He doesn't hate the Cubs. We love the Blackhawks. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. He pretends like he likes Notre Dame. It's just kind of what we do.
They play football.
So it's
South Bend.
They play football in South Bend. That's what they do. But we've also started, trying to grow, right? So we started trying to grow. This table right here is for you guys. Yeah. So
it's a little close.
It's a little too close. You don't want to be that close to us? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Oh no, it's fine. We always got issues to talk about. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. But at any rate,
you're getting nervous over there.
No.
I wonder what happened.
So we'll talk about it during the podcast. Actually, I'll bring it up towards the end of the show. What happened and what they're complaining about. Which still, by the way, I double-checked the league rules. It's not a league rule. It was just made up on the fly. So at any rate, we're going to talk. We're going to keep the show moving. We have signed up with Old School Sports Network, which is started by Evan Thomas. Evan Thomas is a video producer for 670 The Score. He is moving on, and he's branching off and starting out new and different things. So Evan, thank you for joining the show, man. And thank you for bringing us to Flagship on the Fox.
Brandon, Ryan, thank you for having me here today. This is amazing. We already have, like you said, a beautiful, beautiful area here at Flagship on the Fox.
Yeah.
So I appreciate them for having us out here. This is amazing. This is our first event. We just even relaunched our show station last week.
Yeah.
So it's been a week, and I got this booked in that amount of time. So thank you guys here at Flagship on the Fox, and let's get this rolling.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So look, tell the listeners, like, what was your idea around like the old school sports network? Like what are your goals? What are you trying to do? And what is it that, you want us to bring to the table?
When can I expect 100,000 subscribers?
That's not going to be soon. But it might be. You never know how it's going to turn out.
I thought he was going to say $100,000.
That definitely, that's way out there. But as you were saying earlier about your rules, it's on the fly.
Right. Yeah.
This is just see how this runs, see how this
Yeah.
goes. I'm pulling in some amazing podcasts. Obviously, you guys. I have the Fake Football Guys. I have We Are Indy Nation. I have the Man Hour. I have Idiot's Guide to Sports Fandom. There's a lot of stuff going on that we're involved with, trying to bring more on as well, but trying to get it out there to the masses, just kind of have like a network of amazing podcasts, and not just Chicago-based, kind of all over the place too.
Yeah.
I want wrestling podcasts. I want anything that we can get that has some kind of entertainment, sports value in it.
That is awesome. Look, it's definitely something that we are excited about. It's something that I know as soon as you started it and as soon as you messaged me about it, it was something that was a no-brainer for me. I've known you from my time at IMS and then my time over at Odyssey and all that stuff. So I know the type of person you are. So I was like, yeah, you know what, this is a no-brainer. And that's why, people that know me, you said you just brought on Man Hour. I messaged Michael Buckheiser right away. I was like, hey, look, I know where you want to get to, and I know the things that you want to do. If you want to do that, this is where you should be. And so that's why, I'm going to try to help grow this thing as well with you. And hopefully we can get this thing going, but man, it's off to a good start here, man. Cause this is better than anything we could have done on the South Side. I'll tell you that much.
I'm shocked and impressed at this place.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what they've been able to do for us just today.
Yeah.
Like you said, I booked this 4 days after launching old school sports media
within about
network.
12 minutes too.
Yeah, and it took about 12 minutes.
Yeah, it took about 12
Holy cow. I mean, I texted you on the way there from Cincinnati. Hey, you want to do a show? Oh, by the way, it's booked. Okay, cool. Let's go.
Yeah. So look, you're a big Notre Dame guy.
Huge. If you haven't seen by the tattoo, which I don't know if you can see on social media here, but there you go. I got the tattoo there. I've covered Notre Dame football. I do my own Notre Dame podcast, the We Are Indy Nation podcast. But yes, I do love Notre Dame.
So I said it on BetMGM tonight this week. For all those that don't know, BetMGM tonight, Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 on the BetQL network. Check us out on Odyssey as well. Shameless plug.
There you go.
But I said it this week. I said it's time to start taking Notre Dame seriously. Like, they are a legit threat in the college football playoff. And people, they get hesitant, right? And even Ryan Horvath, who's a Notre Dame fan as well, was a little hesitant to agree with me because he was like, look, I've seen this story before. We think that they're good, and then they get into college football playoff, and then, an SEC team just goes bonkers on them. However, this isn't the same college football that it was even last year, but let alone 10 to 15 years ago, right? So there's not a dominant team in college football. Notre Dame right now, I'll be honest with you, if it comes down to college football playoff and Notre Dame is hosting a game in South Bend and Georgia's coming to South Bend, I'm betting Notre Dame. I'm betting Notre Dame all day long on that because Carson Beck has not looked great. You know what I mean?
He's thrown a ton of interceptions the past 6 weeks.
I think they can beat. There's maybe a couple teams that, like, I wouldn't pick them against Ohio State. I probably wouldn't pick them against Texas. You know what I mean? There's a couple teams I think that they would have problem with.
What about Oregon?
I think they could play with Oregon. I think they could. So I think it would be a high scoring game. But I think that they could play against Oregon. I would probably use the spread in that one. I don't know if I'd take anybody on the money line in that one. I'd probably just bet the over if I'm betting.
Yeah.
But I just, there's not a team out there that is just so good in college football right now that I'm like, they're not beatable. I mean, even Ohio State struggled a couple of times against really bad teams. Yeah. But Bama losing to Vanderbilt. Bama has 3 losses this year. And I know Notre Dame lost to NIU, but that was more of just like a blip in the radar, right? Like that is more of a, this happened because this is a normal part of college football. They just came out of beating Texas A&M at Texas A&M. You go to an SEC school, you have a great game, you beat Texas A&M, and then you come home and you lose to NIU in week 2. But then the very following week, which is something we wouldn't have seen from Notre Dame teams past, they put 66 up on Purdue, and they've really run roughshod over everybody else that they've played, except for Louisville, who they only beat by 1 touchdown. But what are you thinking about Notre Dame? Are they a live threat?
A huge threat. The fact that they were just 8th in the bracket, they're going to move up. They already had Indiana lose.
Yep.
You had who else in front of them just lost to? Penn State played really bad. And then a couple teams right behind them. You had Ole Miss that lost, so they're basically going to be out. Alabama's going to drop.
BYU lost.
BYU, who's behind. So a lot of those fringe teams between the 10 and 15, Colorado, those guys are out. So Notre Dame, unless they lose badly to USC, I'd say if they lose at all, they probably will drop out totally. But if they win, they will be solidified in the top, I'd say 8 easily. They obviously can't go any higher than 5 just because of the fact that they're not in a conference.
Right.
So the highest they can get in the seed, they can't even get a first week bye. So they'll be number 5 is the highest seed possible.
Yeah. So being
and a home game, and a home game.
They've kind of put their chips in that by not joining a conference, right? So that's Notre Dame's own fault that they can't be higher than a 5 seed, correct, right? Like join a conference. It'd be very easy for them to join the ACC, which they're in the ACC in every other sport. So join the ACC, be a conference if you want to be higher than a 5 seed. But even as a 5 seed, you're still going to host a home playoff
correct
game, Yeah, I mean, you're just sitting here watching. I just thought maybe you'd have a.
Hey, I have some thoughts. I mean, why aren't they in a conference yet?
They need to badly.
And I mean, I think Riley Leonard is starting to look better myself than he did those. I mean, maybe that's why they didn't play that good against. I mean, Northern Illinois. He didn't have a great game. He didn't have a great game in those first 4 or 5 games. He hasn't really had a fantastic game yet, but he definitely has the tools to be able to. And John, my brother John, checks in and says no conference.
Yeah,
but well, I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think they should be in a conference already? I mean, it's been years. I mean,
it's time. It's time for them to get into the new age of college football. They're doing the NIL. They're doing the.
They are in basketball.
Exactly. They're in the ACC, and obviously they're running an ACC schedule in football, but they're not obviously in the conference.
Yeah.
They're in conferences in every other sport but football.
Yeah.
Football for them obviously is a tradition thing, but move that tradition out. Let's go forward. Get into a conference. My co-host Dennis and I on the We Are Indie Nation podcast every week basically say, get into an effing conference.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I mean, you can't, like we said, we can't get any higher than 5 unless we get in.
So here's the thing is that, and that's what John points out here is that they can't play all over the country if they do join the conference. And I get that, but who cares, man?
Exactly.
Who cares that they can't go and they can't play wherever the hell they want to play? Like, who cares? Get in a conference and be. But if you're okay with that and you're okay, hey, we want to see them on NBC every week at 2:00, or now strictly on the Peacock network every couple of games. If you want to keep that stuff, then fine. But you're never going to be able to do the things that SEC teams are going to be able to do.
Right.
You're never going to be able to do the things that other schools do to be Power 5 teams. Like that's just Notre Dame's just not that. And you get recruiting all you want, but players want to go to teams that are going to be winning championships.
Mm-hmm.
Players that want to play in the NFL want to win championships. They want to play at Michigan. They want to play at Ohio State. They want to play at Alabama. They want to play at Georgia. You know what I mean? They want the exposure of not just having to be on NBC every week. They want to be on ABC on a Saturday night. They want to be on ESPN. They want to do all this stuff. So I disagree, man. Kevin Bourne chiming in says 670 mob in the house. What's going on, Kevin Bourne? Thank you for joining the show. We appreciate
Airborne.
you.
What's up, man?
So, yeah, it's one of those things where we just, you're going to have to wait and see. I don't think they ever join a conference just because they're Notre Dame and they're kind of stubborn.
Yeah.
But
they do have the new AD, the new president. This whole generation of the older guys are out.
Yeah.
The newer guys are in. Guys more my age, your age.
Yeah.
So they're right there. So they need to looking forward rather than looking back at the tradition.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens in the next few years. I say it will change. That's just my opinion there.
Yeah.
Going back to Notre Dame playing with any team in the college playoff, though, their defense is top 5 in the country.
I would argue top 2.
Yeah, top 2.
It's almost like we talk about with the Bears, and I've talked about this a few times with the Bears defense too, is that if you put their defense up against any other, is there one defense that stands out to you that's like Notre Dame isn't as good as that defense. Because to me, I haven't seen one defense yet in college football that I'm like, wow, they're not that. Even Texas, when you're talking about Georgia, when you're talking about all these teams, their defense is that damn good.
Yeah.
So it's really a matter of how they play. Can they play with an SEC? We're gonna find out because they're gonna make the college football playoff. Barring a hiccup against USC, they're going to be in the college football playoff, and we're going to see what they get a chance to do against the Big Ten and SEC. So, Evan, thank you for joining the show. We
thank you for having me.
Appreciate setting everything up, and we hope to do this again soon, man. We're excited to be a part of the Old School Sports Network.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for following us here. Old School Sports Media Network. We got Combs and Fitz, baby.
Let's
go.
It.
All right.
Bears talk now.
Yes, Bears talk. That's what everybody wants to hear is Bears talk.
He kind of ignored the Riley Leonard question.
No, he didn't ignore the question. He just ignored you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I got it. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I'm all right with it. I'm okay.
So
I'm okay.
Here's the Bears, right? Like, we get into what the Packer game was last week. And we get into this coaching staff. And I said it 2 weeks ago, and I said it last week, and I'm going to say it again. Until the Bears stop having cowards in the front office, Ryan Poles is a coward who is making coward hires. Ryan Poles is a guy who has come into this team, this franchise, and made people believe that he was going to be different. Made people believe he was going to make a difference. And all he's done is the same thing. And I was on you remember last year before the offseason, I was on his train. I said, Ryan Poles was not the guy who hired Matt Eberflus. Ryan Poles deserves a second chance. He deserves to be able to hire another coach. He deserves to be able to do all this stuff. But then once he stuck with Matt Eberflus, I said he married himself to Matt Eberflus. And if Matt Eberflus fails, then Ryan Poles has to go too. And here we are in week, 13 now? And he's got to go. He's got to go because if Matt Eberflus has to go, he has to go. Because I can't trust the fact that you stuck with Matt Eberflus and that was your decision to stick with Matt Eberflus. And then unless you tell me that it wasn't, and if it wasn't, you need to come out and you need to say something as far as, hey, Ryan Poles didn't do this. I don't care if you have to call your cousin's neighbor's husband and give him the number to your favorite media member and be like, hey, I talked to Ryan. This is what actually happened. He wanted to fire Eberflus and they said, no, you can't. So, but until that comes out, that's your decision. So you're married to Matt Eberflus.
Then who's running the team? Like, isn't that a cowardly take anyway to then release it that I didn't really want Eberflus in. I just had him for another year. Then who is running the team? Then who is making him do that then? And even if not, that's still cowardly to come out and say, like, I never wanted him really in the first place. Kevin Borenchek's in the front office reflects ownership. The problem is George. Team has been a disaster since he took over. And you can go through all the hires from George on. But, I mean, you're just not bringing innovators into this team. You're not bringing innovators into this team. Jim Harbaugh was out there. Look at the Chargers. What are they, a 7-3 right now? The Bears sit at 4-6. Before the season started, did you have the Chargers ahead of the Bears when it came to talent? I don't think a lot of people did. We're evaluating teams. I mean, they definitely had the more seasoned quarterback, so maybe you put them a little bit over the edge. You didn't have the Chargers at 7-3 and the Bears at 4-6 right now. Like, coaching matters in the NFL, and your team kind of rides with you. Like I mentioned Dan Campbell in the beginning of the broadcast. Dan Campbell, at least with Dan Campbell, he has confidence in his team. How is it? This is not bringing any confidence to the players that you have to share a locker room with when you're not even going to go for a run play with 32 seconds left in a game. And now you got the Vikings coming up, and we could start talking about them if you like. The Vikings have 34 sacks this season. 34 sacks this season. They're third in sacks. And the Bears are
letting up sacks.
The Bears are second in letting up sacks. What is it, 38 sacks or is it 41?
Hey, where are the Bears in letting up sacks on players that are untouched coming through the line? They're first.
They're first.
Yeah, they're first.
I think it's 10 sacks.
So that's going to bode well for
sacks.
a defense that likes to blitz a lot, that likes to rush the quarterback, that likes to do all this stuff. And it comes back down to what we've talked about time after time after time again, and that is, is drafting it. And what did Ryan Poles do in the draft? What was Ryan Poles' reasoning? And we talked about it before the draft. We wanted Caleb Williams. We were both okay with Caleb Williams. We're also okay if they stuck with Justin Fields and just went with offensive linemen. But even at number 9, look, I know that we have a great wide receiver in Rome Odunze. I love Rome Odunze. But where is Rome Odunze, if they don't have an offensive line to protect Caleb? Instead of Rome Odunze at 9, why not Jackson Powers Johnson? Why not the best tackle on the board?
Or you can trade down, get a lot of picks, and then maybe get 2. Maybe get your next tackle later in the first round, maybe high in the second round. However that works out. If you trade at 9, I mean, you got and I'll. Yeah, well, I won't play because no one's going to see it here. But even in the 3rd down and 19 play that they almost get, they get 16 yards, and it does go to Rome Odunze. We'll get to your comments in a second, but when it goes to Rome Odunze, that would have been 3 sacks in a row. Caleb Williams almost gets sacked. He somehow dips out of the sack.
Yeah.
And then throws to Rome Odunze on the run. You almost have to be Superman in this offense to get anything done. And it is a little suspect that these wide receivers aren't getting open enough. Although sometimes when they do get open, he misses the throws, but sometimes there's nobody open.
Well, yeah,
or they're giving up too soon on routes because they don't think this offensive line can take for more than 2 seconds.
What are you doing when you're coaching this team? And Matt Eberflus says in his press conference this week, they asked him, they said, hey, Cairo's been more comfortable kicking from the right side of the field. Was there any talks going into that drive about where Cairo wanted to line up? And he said, no, we didn't talk about that. How do you not talk about that? How is that not the first topic of conversation heading into a 2-minute drive where you need a field goal to win the game? How is that not the first thing that you're talking about? And I know that, they came out later on in the week with the coordinators talking, and the coordinators didn't throw Eberflus under the bus, and they said, no, we were happy with our decision. Well, that just makes it's a problem with Ryan Poles. When you're not talking, it makes you sound dumb when you say something, because we're not dumb when we watch the games. When we watch, the fans aren't dumb. You know what I mean? Like I say it all the time, 75% of all fan bases are stupid. Yes. But they're not dumb. Like they know what they're watching. And when you're watching this game, and when you're watching this team, you know what is going on. So when you come out in your press conference and tell us that you're not having a conversation about that, that makes you sound dumb.
You're not prepared. I mean, even when you have, and I hate to mix sports here, but I'm going to do it anyway. When you have baseball managers, they have to be ready when they're bringing in relievers, or when they have to make a double switch, or whatever they're doing. They're always ready. They're always 2 steps ahead. Why aren't you, as an NFL coach, 2 steps ahead and already know during situations, hey, after 35 seconds to go in the game and the clock is ticking, do we go with another player? Are we going to try to kick a field goal, a 46-yard field goal, which to me is inexplicable. Yeah. Oh, we were afraid of a fumble there. Stop being afraid of all the things that could happen to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how a loser plays. Jeremiah says last week they played with way more effort in the wide receiver room. Yeah, you saw Keenan Allen had that catch to put him in position at the end. Rome Odunze had that great catch, had 2 catches.
Yeah.
The catch to get him to 4th and 3, and then the catch to execute the 4th down. I mean, I just don't see it when you don't have a coach that not only doesn't believe in his players, but isn't ready for any contingency. That's a problem. Even Lovie Smith had that problem. Matt Nagy had the same problem. We had this problem last year when in the Detroit game and they're up 2 scores in the 4th quarter, another game where they're up 2 scores in the 4th quarter where they run Khalil Herbert 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
And when Justin Fields was one of the best players on the field in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens over and over again. All I have to say is get somebody in here with an edge, with some innovation, who knows what he's going to do, even if it's the wrong call. No one thought that what Dan Campbell did in the NFC Championship game last year was the right call, but at least he did it with conviction and his players back him. And that's almost more important.
And here's the thing about Ryan Poles moving forward is if you retain Ryan Poles and you allow him to pick another coach, how do you trust him? How do you trust the decision for him to hire another coaching staff? When you look at what's going on here and all of the reasons why they stuck with Matt Eberflus and all the reasons why they hired Shane Waldron were all wrong. They missed on everything. So not only are you a bad judge of character, you're a bad judge of I guess leadership. You're a bad judge of who your coaches are. How do I trust that? No matter who you hire, we've talked about this before. Even if it's Vince Lombardi reincarnated, how do I know that that's the right decision? Because you're the one making the decision. I'm going to be worried about it all the way up until the time that the Bears prove it on the field that they're not what they have always been, or what they've been at least since 2011.
Yeah, you got a coach right now that you put yourself behind, who keeps telling people we got the right people in the room, we got the right people to figure this out, we got the right people. This is the same guy that's fired like 10 coaches.
Yeah,
but he's got the right people. He's fired coaches for weird stuff we've never heard about. He's fired coaches for not doing their job well. I mean, not many teams fire their offensive coordinator halfway through a season. I mean, I guess the Eagles did it last year, and so did the Bills.
Yeah.
So it's not unprecedented. But when you have a collapse like this, like when do we say enough is enough? And
I mean, I agree with you. I know Badass Productions out here says Flus needs to go. Here's a name for you, Vrabel. Look, I don't. How do you feel about another defensive-minded head coach?
No, this league is not going the way of defense. I'm sorry. The top 16, 15, 16 picks in the draft this year were offensive players.
Yeah.
That's people building teams around offensive players. Can't we for once build? We get this generational talent. There's all these machinations going on.
Everybody's a generational talent now.
For 2 years, there's all these machinations going on for this draft.
Yeah.
For the 2024 draft, for 2 years, we have the cap space. We have the draft. We draft the quarterback. We get the wide receiver. And what we do, we get Vrabel in here to be the
get you fired up.
to get a defensive-minded coach in here again to help a quarterback, and then we get an offensive coordinator that's probably going to stay here 1 to 2 years, successful or not successful. No, I want a guy, like I said, with that. The only defensive-minded coach I'll take is Bill Belichick, and Vrabel's on that tree. That's the only guy I will even consider. And even him, it seems he's in his 70s. Who knows if the game's passed him by? I don't know. He made some questionable decisions at the end of his Patriots reign, but
my son chiming in says, "What's going on, old man? What's going on, kid? How we doing?"
Not that old yet. I mean, the drugs are coming out. We might live forever. Who knows? We could probably live forever in AI, Junior.
So I looked this up, and just look at the staff and personalities around him. Very Boston College vibe going on. I looked up. I did some research because I'm very perturbed. I'm very perturbed by the fact that the head coach has the same agent as the GM, who had the same agent as the 2 offensive coordinators now that they fired, who, like, it just seems to be a process. So I looked it up. There's not one other team in the NFL that has a head coach that has the same GM, or it has the same agent as the GM.
Yeah, I mean, they just did an exhaustive search
of their front office. He called his agent and was like, "Hey, you got a guy?
Yeah, you got a guy?
Do you know anybody?
Can you populate our entire decision-making force? Yeah. Can you please populate our entire decision-making force to build our team, and then when the team's on the field, to put the right people in the right places to succeed? Can you do that for me?"
Yeah,
and it's an ex-Bear.
Strong.
Like, come on.
I said this too. Jeremiah Murray says, dream scenario: Dable gets fired by the Giants, and we get Flores with him as the OC. Flores would be
Brian Flores,
defensive guy,
the defensive coordinator for the Vikings.
But look, I like Brian Dable, and I would love Brian Dable to be the head coach. If he's available, he's got to be the number 1 candidate, right? Like, I mean, he's just a leader of men. Like, I get what's going on right now in New York, and it doesn't look good, but New York just doesn't have any talent around it.
He okayed. I mean, it's the same thing you're saying about Ryan Poles. He okayed giving Daniel. He had to have some kind of okay in giving Daniel Jones money.
He didn't have any say. He was a fresh head coach. He was a brand new head coach.
They did not give him the big contract when he was a fresh head coach.
They gave it to him heading into his second season.
Let's look it up. Let's look it up.
Dude, I'm telling you, here's why. Because
somebody look it up. I wish I had access. I wish I had access.
You don't have
to
a
the
laptop
world database of information.
The World Wide Web?
The World Wide Web.
You've got a laptop right in front of you. It was his second year because Brian Daboll came in his first year. It was supposed to be a rebuild year, and they ended up going to the playoffs. And then right after that, they gave him the extension to Daniel Jones. It was going into his second year. Daboll had nothing to do with that.
Daboll was going into his second year.
Yes.
So it was his second year.
Right.
He had to have some say in it.
I guarantee you Daboll didn't have any say in that.
I don't know. I'd rather have Ben Johnson at this point.
I'd rather have anybody that can do a good job. I just don't know who that is, and I don't trust Ryan Poles to make that decision. I just don't.
No, I don't. And I mean, I don't even know if they go with a guy who has head coaching experience, because in my lifetime, they've only had one guy, and that was John Fox, who didn't even really want to coach. And I don't even think Eberflus really wants to coach anymore. I think he's in self-destruct mode at this point.
If the Packers beat the Niners today, and the Niners end up missing the playoffs, there's a huge rumor that Kyle Shanahan would be fired. Is that the type of guy you want, though?
It's not happening. The guy's been in, 2 Super Bowls?
Well, here's what I said.
Quarterbacks?
I said I hope that the Packers beat San Francisco. San Francisco misses the playoffs, and they fire Kyle Shanahan. Because I want to be pissed off that the Bears passed on him to hire the defensive coordinator from Western Kentucky State. That's so I want that to happen, because that's exactly what the Bears would do. They would pass on Kyle Shanahan for somebody like that. They would pass on the right candidate for somebody like that. That's just what they do, and that's what Ryan Poles has done so far with Matt Eberflus. And it makes me mad because I gave him the benefit of the doubt with the Eberflus thing until he married himself to Eberflus at the end of last year. And unless you're telling me that your hands were tied and that, maybe McCaskey and Kevin Warren came to you and said, look, we're not paying him to go away, so you're going to have to deal with him for another year, then that's a problem. And even if that is the issue, like you said, then that's an even bigger problem, because now Ryan Poles isn't in charge of the team. So who's in charge of the team?
Who knows? After not letting coaches go after 2 years when they're obviously not the right pick.
Yeah.
And then you got a new quarterback coming in here, and you have a defensive-minded coach who's a lame duck. Kevin Bourne makes a great point here. Andy Reid was like Kyle Shanahan before Reid got Mahomes, and that's a good point, because Andy Reid was in 1 Super Bowl, lost in Philly.
Yeah.
Was in 4 NFC championship games in a row.
Had a ton of clock management issues.
Yes. You could say he had a decent quarterback or above average quarterback in Philly, but he never had anything like Mahomes.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been anything like Mahomes, but it's a good point. Yeah. I mean, but they're not getting rid of. I don't see that happening.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't if I'm San Francisco. I'm not getting rid of them. I mean, with all the injuries they've dealt with this year, first it was CMC that was out, and now you're talking about Kyle Purdy being out, or Brock Purdy being out. You're talking about, and not only that, but all the problems that they've had on the defensive line too. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries, like all over the place in San Francisco. So to fire Kyle Shanahan to me would be just ill-timed. For the Giants to fire Daboll would be ill-timed. Like, why would you fire Brian Daboll? It makes no sense.
The Giants never really did anything.
But you knew that they were going to be in rebuild mode. The problem was that in the season that was supposed to start the rebuild, he took them to the playoffs. Yeah. So now the expectations are raised, but the talent level was still here. They just overplayed their expectations. They overplayed their talent. They played out of their minds for a season for a guy who fired them up, and then they came back down to earth. I mean, we see it all the time in sports. We see it happen all the time in sports.
True. I mean, I don't know. I just need a guy in here who has a little. I just don't see it with Daboll. I just don't see it. But I mean, I could be wrong. But I'm not having them talk me into another freaking coach hire.
Well,
They never coach.
We're gonna have to deal with
me into Everfleet.
We're gonna have to deal with whoever they hire anyway.
I don't have
because whoever they hire is who they hire. It's not going to be up to us. If it was up to us, they would have already gotten it right. So, look, I don't know what
I don't know if I want a failure.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do in the future, but I do know the present, and the present is they have the Minnesota Vikings this week.
Yeah.
And the Minnesota Vikings they're going to have to do something to beat this team. I think that they can be within 3 points of this team. They can cover the spread. I don't know if they can win this game outright, but this defense is good enough to play with Minnesota.
Yeah, they're good enough to play. Against Minnesota's offense, are they good enough to play the Bears' offense against this defense? I think they're going to have chances for shots. I think they're going to have. When they go with zero defensive backfield and are just bringing everybody on a Brian Flores blitz.
Yeah.
I think the Bears are going to have chances. They're going to have chances to throw a screen. I don't know if DeAndre Swift is in today, but Roshan Johnson seemed to be catching well out of the backfield last week. I think you're going to have a lot of chances to play well against this defense. The Vikings defense does give up some points and does give up some yardage.
Yeah,
especially in the passing game. So you're going to have chances. You're going to have opportunities. Kevin Bourne says, "Ha ha ha! Just need to hire you boys, and the Bears would be set."
So
give us the money, Virginia.
I'm a Marine. I'm a leader. I know how to lead. And you would draft 17 left tackles in the first 5 rounds.
Maybe they'd actually have an offensive line for the first time in 25 years.
If we draft 17 left tackles, one of them's got to be good. You would hope.
You would hope. You can only hope. But there's a lot of. I think this is a great matchup for the Bears today, and I'd like to see how Caleb's going to do today with all these blitzes that Brian Flores throws at people. Blitzes more than pretty much anybody in the league.
Yeah.
Last year, the Bears kind of were up and down. They had that really bad game where Justin Fields got hurt last year, and then played a little bit better in the second game. But those short passes, those can work. But I think you're going to have some ability to throw down the field in this game. If this offensive line can hold together for 2.7 seconds.
I don't know, man.
Please.
I don't. Here's the thing. They throw so many different blitzes at you. This Minnesota Vikings defense. They are going to try to confuse the hell out of.
They will tackle Caleb Williams.
They're going to hit Caleb Williams a lot today. But here's the thing, you can run on this defense. So it really should be a heavy Roshan Johnson
They have
day.
135 yards rushing last year. Yeah. And since they'll be in man coverage, not to cut you off, but yes, I am cutting you off.
No.
You'll have Caleb Williams. They'll be in man coverage with some of those blitzes. Maybe Caleb Williams. He ran for 50, 60 yards last week.
Yeah.
And got out of a lot of bad situations, but in some situations, those were planned runs where he got first downs when they needed them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle all of the different pressures, all of the different blitzes, everything that they do on that side of the ball for Minnesota. Because, we talked about it before. Flores is a really good defensive-minded coach, defensive coordinator now. Used to be a head coach, but he's a very solid defensive mind. And so I don't know.
Keep him and Han over here. Do you think the Bears are going to win?
I think they have a chance. I don't think Minnesota's as good as they've played. I don't think Minnesota's a good 8-2 team. I don't think that they're that team that can be I feel I'm more confident that Minnesota can be a team that finishes under 500 than I am that they are a team that could be scary in the playoffs. I really do, because their quarterback is Sam Darnold.
I know he's got to show me a little bit more. I'd be surprised if he doesn't throw a pick in this game, especially even though it's a hurt secondary. Yeah. The Bears secondary is still pretty good.
And that's the thing about the Bears. The Bears, minus the game in Arizona, the Bears have not been outplayed in any loss that they've had. They've just been outcoached. They have not been outplayed. They really haven't. They've been every game other than the Arizona game where they lost 29-9. they've just been outcoached. I mean, bad coaching decisions have led to a lot of these losses. It led to the loss in Washington. It led to the loss last week against the Packers. Coaching is a big problem for this Bears team, and they don't get outplayed by many teams. They are a very talented football team. They just have no leadership and no coaching.
Yeah, I mean, that Patriots game wasn't very good either, but yeah, I mean that today's game, I just think it's a tough matchup with this defense against this offense. Patriots bitch slap. I shouldn't have said that out loud.
It was a bad coaching decision. It was just a lot of bad mistakes. I mean, they had no game plan going into that.
No, not really. I mean, Shane Waldron was not good. That was obviously his last game.
You led a team with 11 sacks all year, sack you 9 times.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. That's pretty hard to do.
Yeah, that's coaching to me.
There was a lot of throws, down the field. Yeah, and it just seemed like Caleb Williams was confused as in that game specifically on where to go with the ball. And that's got to be when you're when you're a rookie quarterback. That's got to be a little bit on the coaching, right?
Yeah. Our guy Johnson chiming in says Bears are a solid 7-on-7 team.
Yeah, if you don't have to block, they're pretty good.
Yeah, flag football, great.
Hey, the
probably
NFL
be there in a few years.
Yeah, in a few years, the NFL might turn into flag football. You can't tackle from behind it.
Yeah, that's just it's tough, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to end up picking them against the spread. You want to do our picks against the spread?
Let's do our
picks against the spread.
Yeah, the game's about to start.
Yeah, we got about 14 minutes to kick off. So
time flies when you're having fun.
I've already done my picks on BetMGM tonight. If you guys checked it out on Friday, you already know what my picks are. But we will go head to head on our picks. Yeah. The 1936 uniforms today. Yep.
All right.
Classic, I call them with the Wolverine helmet. It's taking ESPN a little bit to load for me.
So we could start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There we go.
Against the New York Giants.
There we go. What's the spread?
The Buccaneers are -4.
4-point spread, Tampa versus the Giants. That's come down a little bit. So the other day they were a 6.5-point favorite over the Giants. So I like them more at 4 than I did at 6.5. I'll take the Buccaneers -4.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Bucs too.
I took the Giants plus 6.5, but I will take the Bucs -4, especially with Mike Evans coming back. And then we have what was the next one? Dallas. I'm still trying to pull it up here.
I'll pull it over to you if you want to talk about it a little bit. We got Dallas, Washington.
Yeah, Washington, a 9.5-point home favorite against Dallas. 9.5 points, man.
It's almost double digits
against the Dallas Cowboys. But the Dallas Cowboys
are first.
The Dallas Cowboys.
You go first.
I am going first. If you
go
let me
first.
talk, the Dallas Cowboys are it's an 11. You're wrong. So this is the actual spread here.
Oh, okay.
So it is a 6-point spread for the Giants. It opened at
4. Are we changing then?
I am changing. I'm going back to the Giants.
He's going back to the Giants. He wants Brian Daboll.
I will take the
Giants.
Day. I will take the Giants.
I'm going to stick with the Buccaneers.
Okay. And then Cowboys are an 11-point underdog in Washington.
Now it is double digit.
I'm giving up the 11 points with Washington. Dallas is really bad.
Yeah.
Dallas is really bad. So I'm taking Washington. Then we got Houston and Tennessee. Houston is a 7.5-point home favorite. I'm on Houston, man. I'll give up the points. I like Houston a lot. Joe Mixon is running wild right now. You can run all over the Tennessee Titans defense.
Yeah, I don't see the Tennessee. I haven't gone with the Tennessee Titans all year. Yeah. Why would I change now?
And I actually just traded Joe Mixon in my fantasy league, which was a trade that my commissioner approved and didn't veto. It was weird. So then we've also got Minnesota Vikings versus the Chicago Bears.
We're going to do this now. We're here.
Yeah. Minnesota Vikings versus the Chicago Bears. Bears are a 3-point underdog at home. Vikings come in as a 3-point favorite. I'm taking the Bears plus the points.
I'll take the Vikings. I just don't see the Bears really doing much against this defense. I just don't. I think it's a defense geared against this team. We talked about it before with the sacks, but
yeah,
very hard to do. But I'm going against the Bears today.
All right, Kansas City, a 10.5-point favorite in Carolina. Double digits again, man.
Yeesh.
Giving up the points, or are you taking them?
Kansas City coming off a loss.
Pissed off Kansas City.
Yeah.
against Carolina.
I'm going Kansas City.
I'm going Kansas City as well. I tried talking into Carolina. I couldn't do it. I'm going to go Miami and New England. New England is a 7-point dog in Miami.
Patriots.
I'm going to take the Patriots plus the 7 points.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Patriots too. They played better. I mean, Drake May's been pretty good. They beat the Bears.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not really saying
much. Not saying much at all.
So.
Detroit -8 at Indianapolis. Or I'm sorry, 7. It's a 7-point favorite in Indy. So
7-point favorite in Indy. I mean, I agree with you. I think right now, and this might be the first time I've ever said this in my lifetime, the Detroit Lions are the best team in the league.
They are the best team in football.
I'll say that now.
Yeah, there's not a team right now that I would pick to touch.
Definitely the NFC.
I'm giving up the 7 points.
Definitely the NFC. Yeah. I'm taking the Lions.
I don't trust the Colts.
I mean, is Anthony Richardson playing again?
He is starting again, and they won last week in his first start back.
The 10 for 32, Anthony Richardson.
No, he had a good game last week.
Pulled himself out of. Did he not pull himself out of the game?
All right, he did. All right, so then we've got the late games. We got Denver and Vegas. Vegas is a 5.5 point home dog.
Yeah, against the Broncos. Your Broncos.
Yeah, I'm actually taking the Raiders in this one.
All right, I'll take the Broncos just to piss you off.
It's a divisional rival. They usually play tough. So 5.5 points is a lot in these games. So I will take the points. Green Bay, San Francisco. We talked about this one a little bit with the Kyle Shanahan thing. Green Bay shot up to a 5.5 point favorite when Brock Purdy was out. They were a 2-point favorite heading before that.
Boy, San Francisco going 5-6. Who would have guessed that before the season began?
Yeah.
I don't want to take Green Bay. Feels icky.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to take Green Bay. I mean, with the quarterback with Brock Purdy being out, it's kind of hard.
Fitz going with the Vikings after he just said the Bears could win is crazy.
It is a little crazy, but I mean, I talk myself into it with the way they blitz. I mean, they're third in sacks in this offensive line. I just don't see.
I like it. I love when you lose weeks just because you pick against the Bears. Arizona is a 1-point favorite in Seattle.
What?
1-point favorite in Seattle is Arizona. I'm taking Seattle. I'm all over Seattle in this game.
Yeah, Seattle at home. I mean, they got a big.
I'm not a believer in Arizona. I'm not a believer in what they're doing. So give me Seattle in that one. Philadelphia is a 3-point favorite in LA tonight. Sunday Night Football. I'm taking Philadelphia. I'm giving up the points.
Yeah, the way Saquon Barkley's playing, it's hard. We're picking a lot together.
I'll tell you what. I'll switch. I'll take the Rams. I'll take the Rams +3.
Matthew Stafford, better quarterback.
Yeah,
for sure.
And he's at home.
He might be the best quarterback in the NFC.
Ravens Chargers tomorrow night, Monday Night Football. Ravens are a 2.5-point favorite.
I didn't like that Ravens game against Cleveland. I didn't like how they played against Cleveland. Granted, it was snowing. I'm sticking with Jimmy Harbaugh.
I am too. I like the Chargers. Let's say we got Sunday night and Monday Night Football both in LA in the same stadium for 2 different teams. Crazy.
That is crazy.
But Kevin Bourne chimes in and says it would be hilarious if Brock Purdy got Brock Purdy by whoever the backup is in San Francisco.
Yes.
that would be kind of funny. It would be kind of fitting as well. So, but at any rate, it's been fun here at Flagship on the Fox. Combs and Fitz, Windy City Sports Talk.
Here.
Yeah,
I might throw a line into the Fox River.
I might throw you into the Fox River.
What are you looking to catch? Trash.
Everything swims away as you get in. But at any rate, no, it's been a lot of fun here. For anybody who's been listening, all the people that have joined, thank you to Shad, to Kevin Bourne. Make sure you guys click like, share, and subscribe on the podcast. Nick Johnston as well. My son, Brandon Jr., Jason Atten. Click like, share, and subscribe. Do all that fun stuff. But
Jeremiah Murray.
It's been good. So we will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies. We're out of here.